Hi, everybody. Welcome to Beyond the Badcast, where I, Adam Upper, talk with Brad and Ketty about Batman, the animated series, and this week's episode is Blinded as a Bat. How you doing today, sir?
My mind is blown. Matt Murdock is Batman?
Or Batman's deciding to train for the Foot Clan, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you know that was the play on the Ninja Turtles is like it's like the Daredevil origin, well, like
Yeah,
the
which
initial.
continues to make me wonder why there has not been a Daredevil and Ninja Turtles crossover yet.
Yeah, I know, yeah, because they were doing like a bunch of crossovers there for a bit,
Yeah.
and like they even did one with Batman, I think, didn't they? I think, or at least
Yeah.
one, like or a couple at least, I think.
When I saw Batman take on the Shredder, I'm like, I wanted this my whole life. I just never knew until now.
Yeah, they even did like an animated thing about
Mhm.
that too, didn't they? I think.
It was pretty
I
good.
know. Yeah, I think I still need to check that out. Yeah, yeah. But as I said, this week's episode is "Blind as a Bat." It is the 59th episode produced and the 54th episode to air. Having it air as September, not it's February 22nd, 1993, and the teleplay is why if you like this episode is by Len Wein. So I think there's like the third episode that he's been credited to him. And if you don't remember, that he's like a prolific comic writer, and I think did like a creator of or co-creator of Swamp Thing, I think, or like one of those like legacy characters in DC and stuff. Yeah. So and the story was by Mike Underwood and Len Wein, yeah, and directed by Dan Reba. So do you remember us watching this episode in its initial run? Because I actually remember, I think I brought this episode up once before, and I think I can remember what your response was to it.
I thought I remembered this episode, but I thought that Robin was in it and he's not in it at all. So
So,
definitely some Mandela effect on my memory there.
so it might have been the thinking of the VR episode maybe for
Maybe.
with
Or I Am the Night. I don't know. But yeah, like I think they definitely blurred together in some retrospect. But yeah, that was my first question is like, if this is going to be Batman blind, why doesn't Robin just come in and, help him out? But
Yeah, so yeah, just be pretend to be Batman for like a day and a half or whatever. Yeah, because you're thinking the Penguin like pulling a golden eye and stealing a stealth helicopter. Yeah, like Robin would be like put his college on hold for like a day for like a couple
mhm.
days. Because I think Leslie said like what 30 hours, so that's like just like over a day. So
Yeah.
like come
So one plot note I want to jump in, and I'm glad that when I looked at the production notes that this was confirmed by Dan Reba. Bruce
on, all right,
Wayne would
Reba.
never let this thing be funded at his company.
Yeah, I know. That's what I was thinking. Just I was like, that this seems weird. Maybe as like a drone for like surveillance, but even then, like that was, and then he even said like after it started shooting, he's like, oh no, I have reservations about funding this. So I'm like, well then, how did it
You
make it
signed the
this far?
checks.
That like you already know like what a stealth helicopter and the general idea. So like, how did it make it this far? Then you'd be like, I'm not sure about this. Like, come on.
Yeah.
I
So
know
I have
GoldenEye's not for another like 3 or 4 years, well, or at least another like 2 or 3 years, but still, like, come on, you should like, what else are you gonna do a stealth helicopter for?
Yeah. So this is what Dan Reba said in the notes for the episode. Everybody was worried about the mechanics of the third act and how to make it work, and we kind of lost track of what the characters' motivations were, myself included. Suddenly, I realized we had turned Wayne into an arms merchant, which he shouldn't be. He doesn't like guns. He should never manufacture guns. There was one line in the script where he gloats about how much money he would make on the sales of this copter, and we altered that to make him express reservations about selling these things.
Yeah, yeah, that doesn't seem right at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's like it's funny that he's both blind physically and like blind to what his company is doing. It's like you gave them funding, like you're there at the, the debut of the weapons performance. So I don't know. Like,
Yeah, like this shouldn't be like the first time you've heard of this and being like, oh yeah, by the way, this is it, and be like, huh.
but yeah, yeah. I'm glad that you mentioned the GoldenEye reference because that is more or less where my mind went to. This prototype military helicopter, the Raven X-111. So yeah, it's a mix between that stealth helicopter in GoldenEye, and also it kind of reminded me of the hunter killer drones from the Terminator series. You know what I'm talking about?
Vaguely, yeah, it's like one of like the later movies or whatever. Yeah, like I think I've only seen like each of those like once. So
So yeah, basically the capabilities of this thing, it can run silently. It has a cloaking device to make it invisible to radar and sonar, and revolutionary ZVF sensor package, which uses computers to turn sensor data into visual images. So this thing can work in like pitch black, and you can like, have like a night vision display on it. And actually, we see this same kind of display used later when Batman adapts the technology. But yeah, it's just like red and black kind of imagery, which I thought was a nice kind of motif to it. I
yeah,
liked
yeah,
it.
yeah, like yeah, another display that reminded me of the Virtual Boy.
Oh
It
yeah.
just like yeah, and then I saw like one of those at the game expo that was in Toronto like a couple months ago or whatever, and it was like I was like, oh, it was way too much to spend money on, but I was like, I want that thing so much just because it's so fucking niche and a kind of a piece of shit.
Niche and kind of a piece of shit. We found our demographic. But yeah, so Wayne's like, sitting there as like these like military guys are like going ooh and ah, and then oh my gosh, when like this thing starts firing on them. Like I love the like the Air Force people are like, this is much worse when we're getting shot at.
Yeah, it's okay to be shooting at other things and watching it. Yeah, then it gets turned on them. They're like, oh,
Yeah.
we're going to see this covered.
Is this what colonialism feels like? But yeah, so they're running for their lives, and that's when they find the flight crew is like tied up in the middle of this like air hangar.
Yes,
And
yeah. Yet another similarity to GoldenEye.
yeah, good point there. I am invincible.
I was waiting for Zenny. I like when they cut back to the helicopter, be like Zenny on a top, like piloting it.
No, no, not that kind
Yeah.
of cartoon. But yeah, so they're like, well, this is the flight crew. Then who's in there? And it's the Penguin and his thugs. According to the wiki, it's the same thugs from the last Penguin episode. Oh gosh, the mechanic. Like
Oh.
so, like Falcone and Sheldrake and those guys.
Well, yeah, I might as well keep it via the vehicle specific goons. Yeah, so you guys know the vehicles, so yeah, get you for the vehicle based crimes, and then if you're going by on foot, we'll get the other get the on foot goons.
I wonder how like hard to maneuver like this thing would be in terms of air control because like they seem to like fly it pretty easily. Like
No, it's just like this is more so like how the goons know how to fucking fly a helicopter.
no, that's what I'm saying. Like how do they know? Like yeah. And yeah, so
Oh,
like they're opening fire.
go ahead.
Oh, yeah, they're opening fire and they start shooting at this car that's like next to the scientist who is like making the presentation and Bruce dives in front of the scientist to like protect her and the car explodes in front of him and he goes and that's when Alfred arrives and it's like picking him off the ground. And he's like, we need to get you to a doctor. He's like, no, no, no doctors. He's like, why don't you want like a doctor looking at you? He's like, I want Leslie Tompkins. Why? Because I can't see.
I want to know I can't see.
Yeah. Which I'm like, okay, I can understand if he doesn't want people to know Batman's blind, but they don't know he's Batman. Why does he care?
Was that? Yeah, his stonks will go down if they know he's there. If like the CEO of the Wayne Enterprises is blind, maybe. So
The stocks are going to go down when they realize that their prototype military helicopter's gone amok.
yeah, so you don't want to drop them down even more. Like that's two things, man. Yeah, one thing at a time.
Once the thing's in red, there's no such thing as worse red. I don't know. Maybe I just have a different view of stocks. I'm just like, well, when I'm not like multi-million-dollar investor, then I just go like, yeah, this is just the ride of the wave that I take. I don't know. But yeah, so he goes home and Leslie's looking at him. And okay, so I call BS on this. Even with Bruce Wayne's like crazy rich medical funding that he probably has, with Leslie helping him out, she says, "You'll be out of commission for a few days. Your retina was like, damaged by the heat of the explosion." So I looked it up. The recovery timeline for retina to heal takes 2 to 4 weeks minimum, and usually several months for the vision to fully recover. So unless she's carrying a fresh pair of eyeballs in those like medical bags of hers, bullshit.
Yeah, no shit. No, she just went and talked to her underground doctor buddy Peter Stormare and did the Minority Report thing and replace the eyes. You just need to wait the couple days for him to heal over, and then the head then it'd be fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, because like later on the scene that's what made me think of was was that scene.
But yeah, she tells him like, you got to stay off your feet, and he's like, not with the penguin out there. One of my favorite things is like when like she says like you're probably gonna ignore my like my bedside manner advice, but like I need you to rest up, and otherwise you could risk like damaging your eyes permanently. And she walks out the door, and like you audibly hear the door closing, and after she's left the room, that's when Bruce was, "No way, Leslie." It's like, okay, even if you're blind, you still you can hear that she left the room. Like,
Well, I think he was like more so talk to himself than like her
then why did he
specifically.
say Leslie?
Like talking to yourself like that to like, yeah, I'm sure you probably say the person's name to you. So like,
In my head, sure. I don't know. Yeah, Alfred's like, like she's got a point. Like you shouldn't do this, and he's like, "Don't you tell me what to do, old man." And he gets up and he's like, "I can fight the penguin in my condition." And of course, he's doing the blind routine of like
yeah,
stretching his arms out and like,
wait, which begs the question: if he like trained as a ninja, like how is he
yes,
so bad at being fucking blind?
thank
Because like
you.
yeah, because we'll get to it again, but like, but yeah, because it made me think of the the pizza delivery guy's initiation and into the Foot Clan and had Secret the Use, where they had to do like they take the bells off the dummies in the smoke in like a certain amount of time. You should be able to like do things like blind, basically, which I think it was Raph that kind of tagged in and did it. Like yeah, like he's obviously doing like sort of like ninja training, so like he should be far better blind than he was showing. Like, oh, I
100%.
can't
That's
see. Like, I think you and me are better. Like, seemed like blind that way. He just all of a sudden he's like, uh,
Yeah, like we're not expecting him to go full daredevil, but like, like he's been trained as a ninja. This is exactly what I thought watching this. I'm like, okay, so like they teach you to like be aware of your environment or stuff like that. Like, yeah, if like you're incapacitated or like not necessarily if you're blind, but just like paying attention to things that you wouldn't normally pay attention to. Like and stuff like that. And like Batman works at night primarily. So like you'd think that even without fancy equipment, he'd know this when like visibility is not to his advantage in the first place.
yeah,
It was,
I didn't get it. Yeah, so I guess that maybe was their justification of him getting the ZVF stuff or doing the Daredevil mask or whatever. But still, like
yeah,
he should be like marginally better at least at being blind than he was
yeah. Like he does, like when we
at the
say
very
like
least.
he acts like a comedy sketch blind man, I mean like he looks like he's drunkenly walking around. Like
Yeah.
so, Penguin has made a ransom to the mayor and Gordon and stuff like that, and says like, "I'm gonna give you the stealth fighter back if you." What was the amount? Like it was somewhere in the millions, right?
It was 100 million. It was like way too much.
Right.
So like I think there was like no way the city had even like Gotham's to be able to like get that kind of money together.
Well, it probably costs $100 million a bridge, which is exactly what Penguin destroys. So it's now your debt's going to be 200 million. So, but yeah, I love, by the way, when like he's like going on this suspension bridge, and like he's like behind this like convertible with these like college kids. This guy, as they're like shooting the cables for the suspension bridge, the car is like going by. He's like, "Hurry up, go faster!" I'm like, this guy sounds like the most disinterested and almost dying. Like,
And then before that, like they're like you see like there's like four or five of them in the vehicle, and they look up
mhm.
and like, hey, what's that? And like, have they not seen a helicopter before? Like,
Yeah,
like Zeppelins fly around all the time. They should be questioning what those are more than like a fucking helicopter.
100%. Yeah, it's some kind of whirly bird.
Oh, I live like downtown Toronto, and I see like helicopters all the time.
Yeah. Like I know what the air orange is. Like that might be a little too Canadian for you and me, but like it's a recognizable helicopter. That's just one kind of like jeez. Anyway, so yeah, the mayor's like he blew up a bridge, holy crap. And Batman or Bruce hears about this on the radio and says, Alfred, I've got to take care of this, sight or no sight. And so his solution to that, I do dig kind of what he's doing here. It's when you really kind of give it a little bit of extra thought that I'm like, okay, wait, do you really understand what you're saying here? Because he uses the same technology as the stealth fighter, the ZVF or whatever they called it,
Yeah.
and modifies it into this headset. So was Leslie is welding this thing. Where did Leslie learn how to weld?
Yeah, and if it's like high tech electronics, like why is she like using a fucking like a welder to fucking do it?
Yeah.
Like at most maybe a soldering gun, but not fucking like welding it. Like I feel I would fucking fry like all of it.
Yeah, there's like electrodes on these things that's supposed to like tap into his like
Is that
octa nerve center,
yeah, yeah.
which I think like that's pretty close to like the part of the brain that like induces seizures. Is that really something that you want to put on your head, Bruce? Batman's
Especially
gonna be
after it just
found
got
foaming
fried.
at the mouth. Like,
Yeah, after it just got fried by a fucking welding gun or
yeah.
whatever.
Well, and that's it. Like this thing, like so in terms of like I'm not like an optometrist, like so I can't really explain like how like the brain processes light and stuff like that. But like that's how he's able to see. He's essentially seeing through not sonar, but sonar for lack of a better expression. Like like the same like visuals as this like attack helicopter because it's the exact same animation style. So it's like, yeah, that's how he does it. It's like, yeah, but like, how is he doing it? Like, how is this thing actually hooking into his brain and giving him vision, like artificial vision? Like,
Yeah, don't worry about it.
yeah, exactly. So yeah, he's Batman. Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, and Leslie's like, I don't think this is a good idea. So like, she proceeds the entire time just stand there with her arms crossed and look like, oh, you should be doing this, and blah, blah, blah. It's like, then why are you here? Like, like, how did you convince him? Like, how did he convince you into doing this in the first place? Like,
It might as well be me. It's gonna be somebody else instead. So, and then he
that's
does a
what
little
Robin's
test.
for.
He does a little like gymnastics test, or whatever, and then which ends with him kicking like a dummy, and then he's like, "Oh, I was aiming for its head." And then he's like, "Yeah, this guy, it's like almost okay." And then he like immediately like jumps into the fucking Batwing and flies away. And he's like, "You literally just said this like is okay at best. Like, maybe driving's probably not like at first I thought he was going for like the Batmobile. So I was like, that's probably if you're saying this, it's not the best for looking through. But I'm gonna go drive. That's probably not a good idea. But like, hey, getting to a fucking flying like jet is probably worse if you can't if it's not like 100%.
Yeah, and like presumably, like he's going a lot faster than like he would be
Yeah.
on foot running.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
like
So that's what I'm saying. That's why the jet's like the worst thing to be like. Yeah, this is even if it's like been a delay, like it's not a good idea.
you don't understand, Alfred. I have to do the most amount of damage for my consequences. Yeah, because like
The most
he
amount of risk all the time.
yeah.
There's no risk. I can't get hurt later.
I shouldn't have said that part, but yeah, that's not untrue. Like, yeah, so but basically like the limits of this thing is that it's and it's kind of cool visual. Like he's got like this cable that's like connected to the thing, and Leslie says like this thing has to be charging. So he's got like a little plug in his like utility belt that
Yeah, yeah. Like one of the the pockets is like just like a battery backup. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. Imagine the
Like
EMF coming out of that thing, man. Like
I was yeah like a battery backup pocket, but not like a mini mouth breather pocket yet.
yeah. Again, he compartmentalizes like
Yeah,
the
like the
wrong
choices is weird.
things. Yeah. Again, it's like clearly he can't have pockets for everything, but the stuff he does have pockets for is very odd. But yeah, it's and in terms of like kind of like another comparison, like if you guys have seen the Dark Knight movie where you like he actually gets the iconic Batman white eyes is when he uses that sonar thing that Lucius gave him to find the Joker.
Yeah,
So
like the cell phone radar thing or sonar thing.
yeah,
Yeah.
and yeah, so he gets in the jet. He also like it makes his eyes red, which I'm surprised that when he went to go see Gordon and like Bullock and something like nobody called him out on it. Like his eyes are glowing red and they're just like, "Well, whatever, Batman's here." It's like Bullock of all people should be like casting holy water on him like, "Get away, demon."
So they go see like yeah, Gordon and them Gordon and their cop I
Bullock.
just totally blanked on Bullock. There you go. What it had.
Yep.
Why am I still blanking on Bullock's fucking name for? I don't know.
Yeah, and they're like we don't want to give him the money, but we're gonna have to. And Batman's like, yes, but we're gonna do it this way. So obviously it's a trap. So yeah, Mayor Hill like basically goes to the Penguin. Oh, there was a scene a minute ago that I forgot to mention because the pilot Penguin's guy who's like piloting the thing says like, "Are you sure this is safe, boss?" And he says, "Do as you're told." And he proceeds to electrocute the guy. It's like, do you really want to electrify the guy piloting your aircraft? Like,
And you're a goon. You're not paid to ask questions. You're just paid to do stuff, man. So shut the fuck up,
yeah.
Sap.
If you're thinking that this is dangerous, working for a criminal, maybe you failed to read the job description. Like, so yeah, they're told to go to
Well, I
the
would figure for like for working for like the big three or four supervillains in Gotham, I think I'd feel the most safe with like this version of the Penguin. I think.
yeah, but still, like when you don't know what's in that umbrella, like
Ella, sorry, bad joke.
yeah. Now I'm picturing Tom Holland dressing up as Rihanna. Every time I'm like that song is his now. Like it's his.
It's legit.
Zendaya, you're a lucky lady.
And how?
Oh yeah. Um yeah, so they have yeah, the drop up point that they go to. Oh, and one of the thugs asks like what if it's a trap? And he says, "No need to worry. Like we can detect a trap literally from a mile away on this like sonar device." So they go to the briefcase and they open it and it's like four phone books and a note that says gotcha in it.
And they're like, so Joe, it's a trap. And then they look up and see like the Batwing coming in. And
Yeah.
he's like, a trap laid by him, no doubt.
Yeah. Well, what's funny is like they say like, how did he sneak up on us? Like we should have seen him, and it's like he must have a cloaking device too. It's like okay, cloaking device aside, we hear the like noise effect of this like thing. Like it sounds like your average like sonic jet going through like like the sound barrier. It goes like like through the
Yeah,
air.
yeah,
Like,
yeah, like a TIE fighter almost, yeah.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's like unless you're deaf, you're gonna hear this thing. Like, but yeah,
But also too, it did sneak up on them though, dude. You didn't hear it until after you saw it, so that was kind of weird.
yeah.
So I don't know how they pulled that off.
Unless it's like a speaker, like he's just got it as like an intimidation factor. Like, I don't know. This is better than Spotify. Yeah, so he's like shooting a net on them, and he manages to get on top of them, and he drops these like spiked balls on top of like the rotors of the helicopter, and it should have done more damage than it did, but it was enough to knock it down. Because like even Penguin's going like, oh yeah, we forgot to mention Penguin is wearing flight gear this whole episode. He's got aviation goggles and like the white scarf. Like he looks so like, oh man, he's at least having fun. Like, yeah, he's like Mayday, Mayday, as they're like going down, and they hit the I don't know, they're like this like industrial like yard. And there are so many smokestacks that Batman is somehow managing to maneuver around, which, yes, he has the ZVF or whatever it is to help him, but like even if you had like 20/20 vision and your eyes were fine, like it'd be pretty tricky to maneuver with a giant bat wing.
So yeah, so like yeah, I think that's what does he like end up crashing that
He ends
or
up crashing the chopper, but they use like the laser on the chopper.
Then
Yeah.
then he's like, and then the one dude's like, hey, look, boss, we took it down with the laser, and, like the laser cannon. And I was like, what do you really need to call it the laser cannon? He could have just said like, shoot the lasers, really.
Yeah. This is my one day I get to use a laser. Let me please have this. My father Falcone kicked me out of the family. I don't have nothing left.
So that's what he crashes, but he able to get it, and then he starts like crawling like blindly cry because as he's running away, they see that he snaps
The
the
cable.
charging cable as he gets out, and then he's kind of stumbling. Oh, and even before he crashed, he saw that there was like a little battery warning or something on it. Yeah, so
Hmm.
so he's kind of stumbling and not be able to see, and that's where the penguin and the one goon noticed that he was walking strange, and they're starting to comment then. And then they follow him into the building, and it's like a yet again another lava warehouse of sorts.
Yeah. The thuggy cult runs the steel industry.
So then they comment more that he's kind of stumbling around because it's his the visor is cutting in and out of there.
Hmm.
And then I forget what happens and
He gets his
like
foot stuck in the track, and that's when the Falcone guy's like, "Don't worry, boss, I'll get him." And like he manages to land a couple blows, but it's not long before Batman manages to get free, and then like kind of monkeys his way around and like grabs him by the legs and throws him off. And that's when oh yeah, he like throws Falcone on the back of this steel vat. Like he must have dropped like 20 feet back, smacking against the bottom of this like metal drum. Like that guy's spine is definitely cracked in two. But uh so Penguin, yeah, because Penguin starts to notice like whenever there's like a noise around him, like a screwdriver hits the floor, and Batman goes, "Oh, like what was that?" and stuff like that. So like he clues in that Batman can't see and starts using that to his advantage. So like throws like a piece of metal to the other side of the room, and Batman goes looking in that direction. And so he says, like, your aim's a little off, Batman. Like, you're both blindness, helpless, and blind as a bat. And Batman's like, well, you got one, right? Why is Batman admitting that he's blind to the Penguin? Like, you're just like, say, yes, I am weak. You should totally take advantage. Like,
I thought he was just saying like that, like the bad part was right, instead of
maybe
not the
that was
blind
yeah.
part. Is
That's right. I am a bat. Like,
is how I took that, but
yeah, I guess I missed that. Yeah. That probably is what he was saying, actually. But yeah, so what happens? He manages to get in front of this kind of uh, it's like part of the this catwalk that's like just cut in the middle. Like I don't know why it's there. It's just kind of like two bridges with a big empty space over like a river of molten steel. I'm like, why would this be at a factory? Like, um, and he manages to like use a grapple to get up on top of him. He's like, "You're just delaying the inevitable," and he's just hanging on to his grapple, just like I have no idea like where I am, like what's below me, or like I just know like I'm in like a really crappy spot right now.
and
And
then, and that and that's where you like feels like the drip on his head, and he's like, "Oh, there's
mhm.
water," and then he like does like puts the steam out and like makes it steamy so that so again like another situation where like he steams up so like the penguin can't see, so he jumps down and is able to land a few punches on the penguin when there's steam there. So like, why couldn't he do that when there's no steam and just be like, so, or did he need the steam there for it so he can actually see?
So that was where mine went too. Except when I rewatched it again, I was like, oh, it's when he hears the penguin cough, he goes in the direction of the coughing. But I'm like, okay, yeah, there is some rationale there, but you also heard where Penguin's voice was coming from like 30 seconds ago, so you knew where he was. Yeah, like I get it, like because Penguin can't see, so it's like, oh, if a blind man who's better at being blind than another person who's not, like that kind of that's how it works, right? It's like, yeah, but you already established you can't fight blind. Like, so yeah, Penguin's like, no, and like he kind of ties him up. And then we cut to Leslie taking the bandages off of Bruce's eyes back in the mansion. She's like, "Well, like let's see how you're doing." And at first, like he doesn't say anything. He's just kind of straining his eyes open. And Alfred's like, "My word, you're not." And he drops the newspaper. Bruce catches it midair, so like obviously showing his reflexes and his vision are back. Like, no, no, I'm not blind, but I do see a sight that I'm glad to be seeing. And he sees Penguin arrested on the front page, and that's the end of the episode.
So, so what'd you give this episode out of five blind mice?
I am gonna give it 3 out of 5. I like the animation style. Even though, again, I don't think this is something that Bruce Wayne would sign off on in the first place. The limits and the strengths of like the technology that they kind of introduced here, I think were more or less kind of like fairly used. It was when you really try and figure out how to apply it to using it on Batman that I had a lot of questions. But yeah, no, it was a nice way to kind of like showing a different side of Batman operating as a crime fighter. And yeah, I'm always down for a Penguin episode.
Yeah, I got it a 3 out of 5 as well, but like I think they just thought like military attack stealth helicopter was like a weird thing to get the penguin into to they could have just had anything else to have the penguin in and just try to steal it and had an explosion. Bruce lost his eyesight, sort of thing. But aside from that, I enjoyed the helicopter and stuff. And I said it was one of the episode I actually do remember seeing. So like it was, I don't think it was on like heavy rotation, but it was an episode I had seen a few times at least. So it had stuck it in my memory. So definitely give it a 3 out of 5 as well.
Robin must have been
But
watching
that
this
is
the
the
entire
episode.
time, and Robin must have been watching this the entire time and just been like, "What the hell, man? Like, just call me." Like,
He was like, well, how did you tell me? He was like, well, you're away for that week, so I can, or it was like, or it's too short a time to get you in here, so it's fine. But yeah, as I said, this is the thank you for joining us in the back cave for this week to talk about Batman the animated series. And next week's episode will be the Demon's Quest parts 1 and 2. Uh, is this is this our first Ra's al Ghul episode or?
I mean, technically second, but he is the main person in here.
Hi. Yeah, so you can follow us on Twitter/X at Beyond Backcast, on Instagram at Beyond the Backcast, and we are on YouTube now at youtube.com at Beyond the Backcast. Check us out there. Give us a rate, review, subscribe, like on there, or wherever you find your podcast, or where you're listening to us right now. It will help us out. And where can we find you on the internet, Brayden?
You can find me on Instagram at Alfred is Zaddy. And you
Ooh,
can also
Sadie.
find us on our Instagram Beyond the Backcast. Look on our link tree, and you can find us on Facebook and our Discord, the Batcave, where we talk about all sorts of Batman related material.
That's nice. And you can follow me on Instagram at StunkJumpin. That is my personal account. As I said, thanks again for joining us in the Batcave to talk about Batman, the animated series Beyond the Batcast. Goodbye, good chums. Kapow.